There is one day this season that we can bank on no games being played. You'll notice that Election Day, it's Tuesday, November 8th, it will feature 0 games. Instead, all 30 teams, they're going to play the Monday before on a themed civic engagement night, and that's to encourage fans, players, and staff to vote.
So the NBA is doing something, frankly, the country should have done a long time ago. Cancel the day's activities and make Election Day a federal holiday.
This is a pretty significant departure. We went back and looked at the 2018 midterm elections, and we saw that there were 8 teams that had games that election day. When you go back to 2014, 16 teams competed on that election day. So they are eliminating election day games.
Take a wild guess who despises this, and I'll give you a hint. It's those Republicans.
Look, it's not only that they're not going to play games on Election Day, it's that the day before Election Day, all 30 teams are going to play, and they are going to lecture all of us about left-wing politics.
This is a lie, but are you surprised?
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
Paul Weyrich said it many years ago, and it is still prevalent to this day. In 2012, Republicans made the nationwide push on voter restrictions, specifically voter ID. And they told you why. We've got to cut down on early voting because early voting is not good for us. That was from ex-Florida Republican Party Chairman Jim Greer, who would, surprise, plead guilty to 5 felonies. And then, remember this.
Mail-in ballots are a very dangerous thing. They're subject to massive fraud.
Another lie. And they know it, but they stuck to it. Why? Well, let's hear from a fellow Republican on the subject. Georgia House Speaker David Ralston said the expanded mail balloting in his state will be extremely devastating to Republicans and conservatives. I want to make note of something. In early 2020, Dems proposed $400 million in funding to expand mail-in balloting because of this thing called COVID, which Republicans didn't care about. And yet, here was Trump's reaction to that.
They had things, levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again.
And the full-on onslaught against the voters continues. The party has been on a rampage to install loyalists at the polls, following the pattern of contesting elections only when a Republican loses, of course, and trying to throw out votes because, as Weyrich said, the leverage goes up as the votes go down for them. A University of California study found one very clear disparity. Voters in predominantly black neighborhoods waited 29% longer on average than those in white neighborhoods.
If your vote didn't matter, then why would people have fought so hard to keep you from voting? Why is there something called voter suppression? Why did it take till the 60s for poll taxes to be removed? Why did black people have to wait for amendments to be passed in order to vote?
Let's flash back for a second. Do you remember the lines in Georgia to vote?
We made it, y'all. We made it. It's been an honor to share this almost 11-hour experience with y'all.
They waited almost 11 hours to vote. How about in Texas? Remember that?
In their red pickup, Richard and Mae Joyce Nickerson, both in their 70s, just drove 35 miles to vote.
It really does not make sense. It's totally inconvenient.
But we had to do it.
They used to drive a few minutes. The Nickersons live outside of Houston in Harris County, home to almost 5 million people, but just one absentee ballot drop-off location. There were 12 in this largely Democratic county, the other 11 forced to close after Republican Governor Greg Abbott, citing election security, limited every county to a single collection site.
The list goes on and on and on. 435 House seats will be up for grabs this November, as well as more than 30 Senate seats, and gubernatorial races. During the weeks leading up to November 8th, the league, the NBA, is encouraging teams to share election information, like registration deadlines with their fan bases, wrote Politico. And that's bad? That's a negative? Lo and behold, the National Basketball Association choosing to not play games on election day and election night is going to trigger so many buzzwords from the right. And you will hear them over and over again. It is a guarantee. However, don't be fooled. It is for a reason that they do this. The fear-mongering. There's a reason they do this. The divisive language. There's a reason they do this. It is because they don't want you to vote. Clay Travis, who's a grifter, will use the words woke, and incorrectly, of course, and will use many other buzzwords because it's all they have. The less people that vote, the better their results are. It's proven. And yet, drawing a target on the back of the National Basketball Association has been a movement that they have started for a long time now with LeBron James and many others. Why? Because it's an easy target for them. This is who they go after on the reg. I remember coming across a tweet, which I found to be interesting, which was, it's funny how Fox News will not believe police when they go and serve a search warrant to Mar-a-Lago, yet they will believe police in every single public execution that police put forth on the disenfranchised, predominantly in black communities. Food for thought.